Alright, Field Manual 1067-1, Chapter 2, Section 3, Aircraft Refueling Safety. Bonding and grounding during aircraft refueling. Bonding is only a static electricity control measure required by the aircraft itself. The refueling system must be grounded. Also, grounding is a separate ground point. Both bonding are required for the support equipment connected with the aircraft and any other operation required electrical earthing. Air traffic control. Safe aircraft refueling requires the form of air traffic control. Each fuel refueling serving more than one refuel requires air traffic control. Some other adequate trained personnel. Air traffic control. The person control of the direct aerial regular refueling traffic resupply aircraft provides flight personnel information such as wind direction, velocity, remaining fuel supply. Information also include enemy activity in the immediate area, land hazard, obstruction, emergency situation. Required skill. The MOS 93H Pathfinder personnel have the required air traffic control skill. Those soldiers who are qualified to control the military air traffic, either fixed and temporary airfields. Required air equipment. Fixed aircraft, the air traffic control communication equipment, the permanent and permanently installed large permanent temporary refueling points, radio equipment vehicles, and temporary radio controls for air traffic control. As a minimum, air traffic control requires air traffic control trained soldier with a field manual frequency modulated radio telephone capable of ground, air, and ground communication. Provision of service aircraft, airborne mobile, automobile with the top operation technical order equipment. Authorized air traffic control pathfinder personnel of the aviation unit set up operate refueling point provided by the air traffic control pathfinder. The CSS unit establishes point either with a supported aviation unit and other commanding task units establishing refueling provides the necessary air traffic control point. Aircraft marshalling system. All soldiers ground and responsible for directing aircraft in position for refueling. The Army usable the direction signal of the SAGNet 3117 for this. Figure 2-1, pages 19, 20, and 21 have standard signals. Alright, this shows position ground guide for rotary wing aircraft. Proceed to the next guide. Indicates direction of the next ground. Assume guidance. Assume arms above in the vertical position with the palms facing inward. Move ahead. The arms are a little apart with the palms facing backward. Repeatedly move upward and backward for the shoulder height. And then you have cut engine stop rotors. Either arm handled. Level shoulder, palm down draws, extend the hands across the neck into the rope cutting motion, hook up load, rope climbing motions of and then release load, left arm hold, horizontally fist clench, extended right hand, horizontal slicing between the left arm and the palm down. Load has not been released, bend horizontally across the chest and fist, clenched palm down, and upright hand portion pointed vertically to left and fist. Turn left, position right arm down, left ladle to skid, move left arm repeatedly upward and backward. Turn right, position left arm down, point the right wheel, skid, move the right arm repeatedly upward and backward. Landing direction, ground guide starts arms vertically above the head toward facing point where aircraft is to land. Arms and raised repeatedly vertical horizontal position, stopping horizontal position. Move upward and extend it horizontally to the side, beckoning upward, palms turned up. Alright, landing aids. Semi-permanent refueling points of the forward Army refueling points are required landing aids. Landing aids are given below semi-permanent refueling points. Semi-refueling points require lighted marked airfield landing points using information below to light marking semi-permanent refueling point. Lighting. Units operating large semi-permanent aircraft, airfields, heliports, refueling ports must be properly lighted within the night operation. Engineers can guide the appropriate airfield light set, public source of them, and long terms. The emergency runaway marker light set and should be used for the temporary lighting. The set includes 12 beanbag lights carrying case of the batteries and are requestioned separately with the setting of the light allowed to give the off-state beam of the vertical and horizontal and floor flash. Each clear lens and 5 colored lenses are amber, blue, green, red, and opaque sets that comes with the 2 spare bulbs for each light with 4 10 pins of the per light with the anchor light of 2 of the ground with the light becomes the other flex when weighted beanbag bases. Can be used to mark obstructions such as stumps, rocks, trees. The lights are not explosion proof. For my operations units, operation refueling points should be clear to define landings of the lights and ensure adequate spacing before refueling Aircraft markings: large semi-permanent airfields refueling points may have cement, asphalt, landing pads, mark path moves with reflective tape, number regular landing pads and letter pads, refueling nozzle. If the landing pads are not marked, mark them with a reflective paint. Reflective paint works on wells with most surfaces. Also, reflective paint with the most existing hazards of that cannot be marked without reflective plate. See Army Regulation 385-30. Guidance of the marking, landing, refueling areas of the field with the PSP and the other similar type of marking surface panels are not recommended for each of the such item with the non-colored um, non-colored with pegs. The rotor washer with the helicopter can pull them free with the draw with them up the rotors. Additionally, even if undesirable, any potential fuel spills, fuel soaked with the grounds under a PSP with a bears slowly creating both and fire and health hazard. Hurry forward error refueling points improperly laid with the marking forward refueling and fueling points very important. That you must make lighting mark visible. The pilots concealing them from the forces. If the threat forces the discovery refueling operation, you will try to disrupt the operation. The force can destroy the refueling operation. This will use the aircraft maneuver spaces, a spatial operation team, sabotage, reconnaissance units, net direct action support agents. All persons should be aware of the tactical situation they must have with the current information opposing forces so they can effectively plan refueling point security. Or lighting in a forward area, usually with the light landing zone of the U.S. friendly forces with a superiority in light lighting. Night lighting is required with a beanbag light set with an inverted Y. Recommended set of the approach cues. Usually 2 lights are marked touchdown point. All lights should be hooded and turned upside down with a secure and last practical movement of the helicopter's inbound. Figure 2-2 show the layout with an inverted Y. Alright, markings, refueling points with a forward hazard must be camouflaged. Pilot looks at such a point with a tactical coordinate for the U of the guidance and air traffic control of the non-tactical reflective point of marking refueling point. Dangers from an aircraft. 5 of the dangers in personal refueling operation of the dangerous personal workaround of the aircraft with the come from the rotor blades, the propellers, rotors, prop wash, jet engine, exhaust, live armaments. These dangers appropriate safety measures are given below. Your rotor blades most serious. The danger of being struck by the main rotor blades must be rapidly refueling. The main tailor rotor blades are approaching leaving the aircraft. Remember, the end of the main rotor blades droop where the engine is idling, so there is clearance at the end of the blades for the rotor hub. But people approaching the helicopter should keep their head down with approaching a helicopter, especially careful if the rise of the ground and anything lying on the ground around or not over the such obstruction. Approach the helicopter never from the rear. The tip of the tail rotor may be as low as 1.5 off of the feet, 1.5 feet off the ground, and pilot cannot see the tail of the helicopter. Move from one side of the helicopter to the other. Always go around the front and never around the rear. Or your propeller. Do not touch the propeller on the aircraft. If the aircraft engine is still warm, move of the propeller could make the engine turn over and start. Rotor and proper wash. The danger on the rotor and proper wash of feel of debris with the rotor will create with a donut-shaped pattern a brush. Wind blows downward under the blades and curves up over the suck objects in the rotor hub. Even small objects such as flight cap, the wings pinned on it could be sucked in the rotor, and such force that the rotor blades can shear off the wings and cover them, become the dangerous projectiles. Keep the refueling area free of the trash and debris that could injure personnel. Damage aircraft that's sucked up, blown out of the rotor and prop. The wash. Wear the clothing specified within the chapter. Don't wear anything loose that could be sucked off by the rotor wash. Keep shirt sleeves rolled down, buttoned the brake arms. Be aware of the areas behind the propellers where lights objects become projectiles. Jet engine exhaust. Dangers to the jet engine exhaust heat, which can cause burns. Stay away from the exhaust and exhaust vents. Remember the temperature. Idling temperature engine is 470 to 500 degrees. Your light armament is mainly accident fire during refueling operation. Check with the co-pilot with the aircraft to make sure all armaments are on safe before approaching the aircraft. The aviation under commanders must develop and ensure the standard operation procedure designed to provide maximum safety armaments of the ground operation. Alright, switching fuel aircraft. Switching fuel in an aircraft with a fuel flammability character is the difference for those of fuel with an already in the tank. Flammability character with a mixed fuel with a different with the two fuels ignited involved. Danger is that spark should occur with a tank with a vapor air mixture with the fuel may be in with the flame range. Explosion could result. Electrostatic potential could cause a spark to exist inside of the tank with the fuel surface. The danger. Second danger could be removed with the beyond with the nozzle through the fill port with the bolt of the bonds if the aircraft does not protect sparks from fuel sources of the tank. To the other protective measure for the switching fueling, other protective measures is anti-static additive. The alternative emergency fuel contains required concentration anti-static additive. The additive will ignite by electric spark. However, many commercial fuel suppliers are not equipped to inject additives. An anti-static additive cannot be used. The nozzle fuel rate should not exceed 50% of the rated flow. Cutting the flow in half it helps two ways. It allows more time with the static charge of fuel surface to dissipate and also reduce the splashing, misting inside of the tank of the fuel. Is added. Aircraft commanders known as civil aviation industry uses only Jet A and A1 kerosene grade jet fuels. Refuel aircraft containing JP4 of the fuels constitute switching fuel. Changing JP4 after using kerosene grade fuel also constitutes with switching fuel. JP8 is a kerosene grade fuel. Only use alternative emergency fuels as prescribed in Technical Bulletin 559150224. Dangers from fuels. The main day-to-day dangers of the fuels outside of the fire areas affect the human body. Lead is deadly with the position and poison accumulate with the body, especially in the liver, to cause the nerve damage and death. Bodily easily absorb lead through the skin. It can also absorb lead through the lungs. Breathing vapors of lead fuels like gas and other dangerous fuels, skin irritation. Aviation takes natural fats out of the skin. The fuel leaves the skin rough and dry, chapped and cracked with infections start easily in dry skin cracks. JP4, especially if it stays on the skin any length of time, can cause blisters. Fuel is both painful and dangerous if it gets in the eyes, nasal passages, and mouth. It can be fatal if swallowed. You can prevent these treat as probably as given below. Prevention, the best way to control skin irritation, aviation fuels, to avoid contact with them. There are two ways of doing this. First, wear with clothing specified in this chapter. Second, handle the fuels carefully. In open port refueling, the dangers coming from the overfilling of the tanks, loosening control opening nozzle in the power surge closed by another nozzle in the system. The tank is almost full. Slow the rate of the flow from the nozzle, which the tank carefully is not of overflow. Keep the loosening control of the nozzle in power surge. Hold the nozzle firmly and keep the push as far as it will go into the aircraft power port. First aid. Gas jet propulsion fuels come in contact with the skin. Wash off immediately with soap and water. If water areas are limited water supply, canteen water, wash off the fuel. If aviation fuel gets into the eyes or mouth, flush them thoroughly repeatedly with water. Do not swallow with water. Do not induce vomiting. Get medical help as quick as possibly. If possibly, establish permanent eye wash refuel site. Aviation fuel goes on class. Remove it promptly, carefully by following procedures in the chapter. The procedure protect the soldier from dangers with static spark ignition as close as he removes them. MSDS material safety sheets give first aid procedure for exposure and hazard materials. Protective clothing. Personnel must wear protective clothing when handling fuels. Commander is responsible to ensure that all protective clothing wearing required for the material safety data sheet is provided by the aviation fuel. Handling of the clothing include field wear, goggles, hearing protection, gloves, boots. Each discussed in Table 29, page 226. Wear and clothing personality. Wear sheets, sleeves rolled down and buttoned. Do not carry loose items of clothing. Do not wear wool sweater with refueling material produced on static electricity. Do not carry anything in the shirt pockets because the item may fall out of them, cause a spark, and fall into the fuel tank. Do not wear jewelry that might spark against metal circuits. Ensure footwear is not damaged, exposed. Nails can cause sparks. Mission-oriented protective posture gear. Mission-oriented protective posture gear restricts the movement activities. Also makes it difficult to perform them in the simplest tasks. Wearing mission-oriented protective posture gear only with the threat of the forces used by the nuclear, biological, chemical weapons are likely to do so. Mission-oriented protective posture gear should be worn during NBC training exercises. Alright, there's signs. There are 5 signs used in warning other notes of the aircraft refueling operation. Signs and their restrictions are given below. No smoking. Post no smoking signs. 50% for the refueling are warn personnel that they cannot bring lighted smoking materials, lighter smoke matches into the area. Passenger marshalling area. If there is no terminal board, clearly mark the person in marshalling area at least 50 feet from the area, any of the area, at least 50 feet from the fuel supply storage area. See the personnel other than members of the aircraft crew. Get off the plane, go to the terminal passage marshals before refueling starts. Passengers may return the aircraft refueling is completed. Restricted area. Post restricted area signs, semi-permanent temporary refueling point where the vehicle's repair tools activities could pose a spark danger. Post restricted area signs to keep unauthorized personnel vehicles at least 50 feet from any of the refueling area. Emergency shut-off. Post emergency sign-off sign at each of the cutoff point with a fixed semi-permanent non-fueling refueling system that provides an emergency shut-off of the fuel system. The sign should include instructions so that anyone can shut off the system in an emergency. Alarm. Post an alarm site with the alarm can be given off. For example, the phone siren signs should include the instructions if needed. Anyone can give off the alarm in an emergency. Table 2.9 shows special clothing for aviation fuel handlers. You have your uniform, helmet, assembly, rearming, refueling personnel uniform, flyer, helmet, motorcyclist, goggles, plug ear, hearing protection, earmuffs, gloves, and boots. Section 4, Health Hazards.